How would you characterize Brazil in 3 numbers? Here are my suggestions. 32 million. That's the number of small dogs in Brazilian households, the most of any country in the world. This may seem a strange way to measure a country, but small dogs are usually associated with 3 things: the rich,
I am a huge animal lover, as everyone knows.
the old, and a growing middle class. The growing wealth and consumption of Brazil's population can be illustrated with a quick Havaianas infographic. If my one pair of Havaianas represents how much Brazilians were spending in 2006, then this is how many more Havaianas would be needed to represent the increase in spending until the recession began to bite in 2014, a more than 2-fold increase. And if this were Brazil's elderly population today, this is how it would look in 2050, 3 times larger, posing huge problems for the public purse. Next, 35. That's the number of political parties in Brazil. Most observers believe the system's plethora of parties encourages corruption and needs reform. The ruling Workers' Party stayed in power for 13 years, allegedly using corruption. During this same time, governments in the UK and the US changed between left and right. And 1/8. That's Brazil's share of the world's fresh water. It's been called the Saudi Arabia of H2O, enabling hydropower to supply 70% of Brazil's electricity. Much of this water is in the remote Amazon, feeding a continental weather system that makes Brazil an agricultural giant. But even in Brazil, water cannot be taken for granted. In São Paulo last year, reservoirs dropped 80%. Some say this was climate change, but maybe it was all of those small dogs drinking too much. These are my ideas. How would you describe Brazil in just 3 numbers?
People often regard China as a political monolith controlled by the Communist Party, but in fact, its system is one of fractured authoritarianism.